This guide has been inspected and approved by Luminous.
Hey guys, this is SunsFan and welcome to the official Dota Cinema Guide to Morphling. If you aren't familiar with this hero, you may want to watch the introduction we did for him at the corresponding link. Morphling is an agility carry hero who's very difficult to kill because of his skill set. As a result, he is able to farm unimpeded until he hits the point in which he takes over the game. It should come as no surprise that the first skill you level is Waveform, since it provides a great blink of sorts, as well as a way to deal some burst damage to a target. Proceed to max this by 7. Next you'll focus on maxing Morph by 9. This is what gives you so much flexibility. You can morph a bunch of agility in order to deal tons of damage, and then morph to strength if there's any threat nearby. Be sure to get your ultimate replicate as early as possible, meaning the standard 6, 11, and 16, since it can also be a great way to escape from sticky situations, or just be used for teleporting purposes in order to gain a large gold advantage. Getting a level of Adaptive Strike early sounds like a good idea, but generally you won't have sufficient mana to support it. Thus you'll have to level it last. Adaptive Strike will provide a nice mini-stun for those pesky TPers, as well as good burst damage in the later stages of the game. Of course, if you go off the cuff and go more strength, then it will actually act as a legitimate stun, but not nearly as much burst damage. Starting items for Morphling will include the basic regeneration to go along with a few branches in order to finish a magic wand at some point. With whatever money you have left over, purchase some slippers of agility in order to complete a Wraith Band later. In the early game, you need to finish a Ring of Aquila, since it provides really good stats and solid mana regeneration. Mana is your main concern throughout these early stages, since your basic survivability and usefulness relies on it. Some pro players like to get Bottle as well, but we'll leave this up to player preference. Boots of choice for Morphling are Power Treads. Much like your innate ability to morph more strength or agility, the same concept applies for these boots. Typically, if you become mega farmed late game, you'll want to replace these with Boots of Travel. Next, and into the mid game, there are a finite number of selections to choose from, and every player is different. One choice, which used to be a lot more popular than it currently is a Lincoln Sphere. This gives you great stats, some added survivability, and of course amazing mana regeneration. If that's not what you're looking for, or you're just looking to add something in addition to the Lincolns, the next item is almost always going to be Ethereal Blade. This, in combination with how much burst damage you deal, will become devastating for those low HP heroes. This is called the Morphling Shotgun build. Into the late game, a Manta style is great as both a mix of DPS and tankability thanks to the stats gained. A BKB could also be needed, depending on who you're going up against. As a luxury item, an Eye of Skadi is amazing on Morphling. As is the theme for most other items listed, the stats gained, although at a price, are still ridiculous. The slow mechanic added to this ensures that no one's getting away from you. Another terrific luxury item is Butterfly. Not much to say, other than that the evasion plus agility will in most likelihood create major issues for the opposing team. Last and certainly not least, we'll have to list a Satanic, which obviously gives you great survivability thanks to it actually stacking with your Eye of Skadi. In the laning stages, it's great to have some sort of support that can slow or disable along with doing a bit of damage. In many cases, all that's really needed from you is a couple right clicks and a waveform. Morphling is a very mana dependent hero, but can still be used very effectively during the laning stages, as his presence will be felt thanks to all that burst. Speaking of waveform, we know it provides great initiation and burst damage, but it'll also allow you to easily disjoint most attacks and spells. You also will not lose control of Morphling while you're in waveform, which pros like to take advantage of when TPing. What they do is waveform into the trees and TP while they're still waveforming. This provides a split-second extra time of invulnerability. You'll find that almost all Morphling players stack agility as much as they can. Because of this, Adaptive Strike will deal more damage but in turn only mini-stun. This is no problem for most people as burst damage is the name of the game. Then of course we get to the all-powerful Morph ability. Unless you're a very experienced Morphling player, you probably want to morph enough strength to be able to survive a gank. This means finding some sort of a balance. As long as you have enough time to tap the Morph to Strength hotkey while getting ganked, then you'll probably live to tell the tale. Because of both his flexibility and survivability, you can get away with semi-early tower dives as well. Just remember that in general, bonus agility or strength from items will not get converted. Otherwise, he would probably be the most rigged hero in the game. Replicate, on the other hand, can be used in a variety of ways. In most cases, players use it as a way to escape while farming, or simply allowing them to TP back to base, and then replicate back to farming when they've healed up. But if used on the right ally or enemy, your replicate can do some serious work. First and foremost, it will act like any other illusion, meaning properties such as Radiance will be copied over. Also, certain skills will pass over as well, such as Anti-Mage's Mana Break and Axe's Counter Helix. But quite possibly the best thing about the replicate itself is that the illusion will deal a respectable 50% damage, but more importantly take the same damage as a regular hero. This can be used to fake out enemies hardcore. Of course, there is the telltale sign of whether an illusion is your replicate, and that is your name being on the actual hero. In fights, if you have an Ethereal Blade, you can pretty much burst damage any low HP hero most of the time. But remember that you will take additional magic damage while in ethereal form, so just be wary of that when performing your combo. If the fight's going well, use your replicate to follow fleeing enemies so you can finish them off. But if it's not going well, just send it back to base while you morph some strength, then teleport to it when it's out of range of the enemies. Two friends which have to be mentioned since teams love laning them with Morphling are Lich and Crystal Maiden. Both provide good nukes early in order to set up easy kills. Another hero that works well with Morphling is Venomancer. As long as he can hit his Gale, you have a relatively easy kill on someone. Also, a special mention must go out to all those heroes who buy Radiance, since like we mentioned before, you can just replicate them and use it against the enemy. Carries with Mana Drain, a Silence, or a Long Disable can really hamper Morphling's style. Some heroes that fit this bill are Anti-Mage with his Mana Break, Void with Chronosphere, Riki with his Smokescreen and eventual Diffusal Blade, and even Dragon Knight with his Dragon Tail. Lastly, we have to mention Doombringer's Doom, although come to think of it, he kind of counters everyone. Thanks for watching, guys, and please remember to subscribe to our YouTube. Also, a big thanks to Flawless and Luminous who helped create this guide. You can check them out at their YouTube channels, which are linked in the video description. Also, be sure to check out our website at dotacinema.com and like us on Facebook at facebook.com/dotacinema.